What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you another video. Today I'm bringing you a video on two things, mainly the Power Rangers Legacy line and also on Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel merchandise. A couple of different things were revealed for both yesterday and the day before. For starters, I'm going to begin with the Legacy figures because the Legacy figures just hit Toys R Us in California, which means that they'll eventually, like in the next month, expect them to start hitting, the rest of the country. A month or two. It really depends. It's always hard to really tell with these because, like, when they hit California, there's usually about a month at least before the rest of the country really begins to get it. Now, as far as things go with the first batch of figures from this wave, what we do know is that it's supposed to include green Zeo, gold Zeo, and red and blue Dino Thunder. Now, as far as things go, the figures themselves, most of them look good. There's one that's been getting a ton of hate. It's the one that really disappointed a lot of fans because people, when we originally saw it during Comic-Con, it looked amazingly good, but when we look at the figures and everything, what we've seen now is that, and this is for the gold Zeo Ranger. The gold Ranger, rather than having the nice gold detailing and paint job that it was seen at Comic-Con, which you'll see probably on the right side of the screen, which to me it should be this, no, it will be the left side, which is my right, yeah, will be the original Comic-Con image, but on the right side of the screen will be what we got, which is this more or less so caramel color, because none of the gold paint was really done on the figure, and that really disappointed fans because it doesn't look right. It looks like a really cheap, a really terrible version of those figures. And if you might remember that years ago we got the super legendary figures, and also even the Super Mega Force figures had better paint jobs, but like the Super Legendary figures, those ones were excellent because they came with so many extra parts, a lot of weapons, and they were cheaper than the Legacy figures. They weren't as articulated, but they had a lot of advantages. So people were really upset about this because the quality that we got was really terrible. And yet if you look at Zeo Gold, I mean, it's not Zeo Gold, Zeo Green actually looks pretty decent in comparison to Gold, and it actually has some good detailing on like the where the chest piece is or whatever, as far as like the gold on the top goes. But as a whole, it looks pretty terrible that we have, some of these looking really great and some of these looking really awful. I mean, the Dino Thunder figures look great. The Zeo Green figure looks perfectly fine. Gold looks the worst. Now, one thing I am glad about is that they are releasing 4 male figures. Why is that important? Because, for those who do not know, the Power Rangers Legacy line has suffered a lot when it comes to female figures, which is why a lot of times when you go to Toys R Us, Walmart, or Target, and you look for the Legacy figures, you'll typically see a lot of females and only maybe a handful of male figures, because the female figures unfortunately don't sell as well for whatever reason. Which is why I think that Dino Thunder is going to be the first wave of figures that's actually going to do something that they said that they were planning on doing back in February, I think it was, which was that they were going to start limiting how many female figures they're going to release per wave, because of the fact that they don't sell as well. So they're going to reduce the quantity of female figures so that they can get those sold off the shelves, and then rather than having a huge stock of female figures, they can move on to the next wave rather than having to deal with them getting off the shelves, which tends to be a slow process. So that will be really great. Again, I don't know if that's 100% fact yet. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think it might be that that's the case. But I wanted to bring that up. As far as my opinion with the Legacy Gold Ranger figure, I'm not happy with it, but I'm not going to complain. I mean, look, it's one bad figure. I don't want the line to end. I think the Legacy figures are great. I have a whole bunch of them myself. and I still like them. I just think that the Gold Ranger one was definitely the worst case we've had so far. I mean, we had the MMPR belts that were differently painted, like we had the ones where some of them were white, which is what they're supposed to be, and then we had others that had like the silver belts, such as like the Blue Ranger had the silver belt, and the Pink Ranger originally had the silver belt mistake. So, you know, not everything has been perfect, but I don't want to give up on the line. And the reason why I even say that is because people have been saying like they should end the line because of this. I would not go that far. And I even tweeted with someone who said that, and then they said that they were just making a joke because they ended up using like an internet meme about it. And basically they said they were joking, but I said people actually have been saying that, like that's really what they believe. And then the guy said, yeah, that's me. And so I was like, well, there's my point exactly. So additionally, getting past the legacy figures, what we did also find out was about a new listing on Walmart's website, which is for the Legacy Astro Megazord. Legacy Astro Megazord is actually the next Legacy Megazord plan for the future, and it's going to come next year around the same time as the second wave of Legacy Mighty Morphin Zords. For those who don't know, they're doing the individual Zord releases where they're going to have the Zords with a minifigure that can pilot the Zords. And the first wave includes the T-Rex and the saber-tooth tiger, but what we know is that the second wave, at least so far, is going to include the Mastodon. We don't know if it's going to include Pterodactyl and Triceratops. We also don't know if they're going to do the Dragon Zord or any of those ones, or anything like in the Thunder Megazord line. But that is something to note. As far as things go, yes. So that means that it's going to release probably later in the year, like possibly middle of the year. Latest, I would imagine, would be fall of next year that we'll be getting Legacy Astro Megazord. So Legacy Astro Megazord, obviously that's in space. People were wondering though, so what about the Zeo Megazord? What about the Turbo Megazord? What about the anything in between there? Why are we jumping all the way ahead to the Astro Megazord? So it could have to do with popularity. It could also have to do with them wanting to do something different, even though they are releasing a ton of Legacy Zeo merchandise next year. I mean, they're releasing the Gold Ranger staff, the basic Morpher for the Gold Ranger. They should be releasing the Gold Ranger Morpher probably at some point. Again, they'll re-release it, I would imagine. They're going to release the Zeo Morpher. They're going to release the... they're going to release a lot of stuff. So, of course, people were wondering, are we going to get the Legacy Zeo Megazord? I'm sure at some point, I just don't know yet. It's interesting that they are jumping ahead to Astro Megazord. Could also have to do with the fact that, like, Turbo isn't super popular, and also they want to do something that they know that could be potentially really successful, and then maybe they're just trying out different things also. I don't know. It's kind of a hard thing to say right now without really knowing enough. Additionally, we got a whole bunch of Super Megaforce, Super Ninja Steel merchandise revealed. So, Super Ninja Steel merchandise, as far as what we've seen so far, we are getting plenty of Ninja Stars. So, a lot of them I've already talked about. Some of them are ones that I actually didn't know about. Like, they're going to be releasing stars for, you know, Super Megaforce Silver, which I don't think I remember mentioning in the past. Megaforce Red, Super Megaforce Red. They're going to do the Magnum Defender. I mean, it's a lot of the same, but there's a couple of new ones. They have shown off the Blaze Megazord again, which is great. We're also getting some roleplay stuff. So they've already shown the the Legacy, the training sets. So the training sets tend to have like a mask, maybe some armor, and a Ninja Star. So they're actually doing that for the Gold and the Red Ranger, and they're going to be based off of the Super Ninja Steel modes. So that's cool, which is good. We've also seen more images again of the Lion Fire Power Up mode figures, which are cool, and the Ninja Super Steel mode figures, which we've already seen already. But we also got to see the Super Ninja Steel 12-inch figure packaging, which basically is just the same basic figures. Like, they're not doing the super modes for them. They're just doing the standard mode, but with new Super Ninja Steel packaging, which actually looks really good. Speaking of packaging, I want to get to the really exciting ones, which are for the new packaging that will be for the Lionfire Morpher, and also for the what do you call it? For the Super Ninja Steel mode figures, because the packaging, I have to tell you this much right now, I love it. It is probably some of the best packaging we've had in years. Like, I can't think of better packaging we've had for quite some time. And some people have said, like, what's the difference? The main things I would say right up front are the size of the packaging, also the fact that where the typical, like, lightning bolt is, you know, there's the typical lightning bolt, but in this case, there's also a lightning bolt that's on this, that's like where it shows off a Ranger or something like that. But in this case, like, they're like, rather than having like the Ranger image in like the corner or something like that, they're gonna have it in the lightning bolt, which is really cool. So, for example, there's this great image of the Blue Ranger's packaging, which shows the Blue Ranger in the lightning bolt, and the lightning bolt's blue, and it looks great. And it's also just really slick, really nice color. It's dark, but it's really, really just great. And it should be really, really fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing these in stores. I think that these will definitely draw people in, I hope. And I mean, I'm just looking forward to this wave a lot. We also, I'm trying to remember what else there was that was revealed that was exciting. We're also getting the Superstar Ninja Blade, which is a new roleplay weapon. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot of really exciting stuff. We're going to get the battle gear. We're going to get some new vehicles, which we had a whole bunch last time. We're going to get training gear again. We're getting a lot of similar stuff, but also a lot of new and exciting stuff that people should look forward to. I'm going to double check right now if there's any worthwhile stars or anything. Oh yeah, they're doing the Titano they're doing Silver, or the Titano Ranger, Phantom, White Ranger, Star. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a whole bunch. So a lot of stuff is being released in the near future. Both Legacy and Super Ninja Steel. As far as what I'm expecting to see a lot of stuff, again, as I said before, Legacy stuff should be hitting stores within, like, by the end of the month, I would imagine. We should be, like, not by the end of this month, by, you know, I would imagine hopefully by the end of December into January, we should start seeing a lot of both Super Ninja Steel stuff for sure. Like Super Ninja Steel stuff we should be getting like actually fairly early into December. But the Legacy figures and stuff like that, hopefully it will be pretty close. I could see it going as late as like maybe January that it would take till we get the Legacy figures. I just don't know yet. It's hard to say because a lot of times when it comes to figure release dates, it's always really hard to say for a fact. It usually takes at least a month after California gets it for the rest of the country to get it. And even when it releases in California, it's usually like 1 or 2 stores getting it, like initially, and then it's really hard to find it otherwise. And like there's only a handful of people that will find it in that initial assortment because they'll usually be bought up in a second. Again, I'm really grateful though that we are getting a good size assortment for the Legacy figures this time, and that they're choosing all males. Not that I'm against the females, because personally I would love to get all the female figures, but at the same time, as we know, the Legacy female figures have not done as well as people have hoped, and it's led to them wanting to reduce the quantities because of the fact that they're just not selling as well as they should be. And that's why we have so many Legacy in Space, Legacy in Space, Yellow, Ninja Storm Blue was a pretty common one that stayed on the shelves for a while. Mighty Morphin Pink, I think it's still a thing. Movie Mighty Morphin Pink is still a thing, where it's still prominent on shelves. I think even Yellow, the Yellow Movie Ranger, and even Alpha 5, I think, is also one that's pretty consistently found on shelves. So I'd love to hear your opinions. Are you guys looking forward to a lot of this new merchandise coming out, whether it be for Super Ninja Steel merchandise or for Power Rangers Legacy line? I'm looking forward to the Legacy Astro Megazord as well. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Are you guys looking forward to any of this stuff? What are you planning on buying? Are you hyped to see the final episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel air this weekend? There is going to be a Christmas episode, and it just got a confirmed release date of December 2nd, which is what I was expecting, the first week of December, or the first Saturday, basically, of December. So keep that in mind if you're interested in watching that. Otherwise, the hope is that they'll release the next episode. I mean, they're expecting to release the first episode of Super Ninja Steel within 8 weeks after within 8 weeks of the final episode. So that could mean that it might be late or mid-January. Hopefully, if we really get lucky, we'd get it like the first or second week of February. That's like a great situation if we get super lucky. I don't know anything for a fact. The only reason why I say this is because personally, if they start later, then that means that they end the spring season later, rather than having a huge hiatus like we had where it ended in March and we had to wait so many months before we got like our next episode. If we start in February, that means that it's going to go till at least mid-April, which is ideal. So I'd love to hear your opinions. What are you guys thinking? Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 1, and goodbye, guys.